Hello everyone, I am Kenshin. Welcome to History Talk. Today's historical discussion is about the precedent of the Bitcoin bubble, the speculation of Dutch tulips. Please click to subscribe, like, comment, share, and also activate the notification bell. Thank you. Recently, the news of the global financial markets, aside from inflation, is that the conflict between Israel and Iran has caused a significant decline in the four major indices of the U.S. stock market. Bitcoin completed its fourth halving on April 20, 2024, finally escaped the crisis, only fell by 0.47%, bringing each Bitcoin to $63,747. However, those who hold skeptical views of the halving phenomenon believe that the halving is at best a technical change, but it has been hyped by speculators to raise the price of Bitcoin. This reminds me of October in 2021, when Nassim Taleb, a famous author who used the «black swan» to interpret the Great Depression, launched a fierce attack on Bitcoin on Twitter, describing it as similar to the Dutch tulip speculation at the time, both of them being sky-high bubbles. He further said that at least the tulips were beautiful, while Bitcoin had no aesthetic appeal at all. He later explained that the analogy of Bitcoin with the tulip craze in the 17th century was to highlight that it was not just a short sale of Bitcoin, but to remind investors not to touch it, because it was pure madness. Whether it is buying in or shorting, they are irrational behaviors, or even worse behaviors. Do you understand? Of course, looking at the friends at present, I don't know how many were enticed by the glory at that time and the advertisements, and now are trapped into investments. However, today Kenshin does not plan to talk about Bitcoin, but the Dutch tulip speculation mentioned by Taleb, as to why it can be on par with the Bitcoin bubble. This event is called tulip craze in history, but it is quite strange that there is no consensus on what is the reason or the beginning of the event till today, but the only thing that can be determined is that it is named with the South Sea Bubble in Britain and the Mississippi Company in France, as the three major bubble events in modern European history. Let's understand the cause of this event next. In the 17th century, the 7 provinces of the Netherlands achieved victory against Spain and embarked on the path of independence, allowing the Netherlands to leapfrog Spain and become the maritime hegemony in Europe at that time. The subsequent situation was even more favorable for its development. Firstly, it seized the most profitable spice trade business from the Portuguese. Also, with Europe under the 30 Years' War, many business activities were centered in Amsterdam, where the city's vibrancy far exceeded imagination, roughly on par with today's New York, so having the highest income level was quite reasonable. How high was this income? The estimated annual income of a craftsman was about 250 Dutch guilders, which due to high prices, was just enough to hardly sustain a family of 4. After talking about the affluent background of the Netherlands at that time, next is the story of tulips. Today, a flower that is almost identified with the Netherlands, was actually not a native plant of Europe. It's said that its origin was in the Tian Shan Mountains. After the expansion of the Ottoman Turkish Empire and the capture of Istanbul, they began to cultivate and improve varieties. So when did it enter the Netherlands? According to records, it was 1593. Originally, botanist Carolus Clusius was conducting bulbous plant research in Frankfurt, Germany. In 1593, he brought several kinds of tulip bulbs to Leiden University for further research and cultivation, and that's when tulips began to spread in the Netherlands. His research found a mutation, later known as tulip-breaking virus, where affected bulbs would bloom beautiful striped pattern flowers. This mutation was deciphered in the 20th century and turned out to be the tulip bulbs infected by the tulip-breaking virus. Initially, tulip trading was conducted through spot trading, asking for quotation. But in 1636, futures trading with cash settlement appeared, which is quite similar to today's futures options. Because the margin of futures and options both used bills payable, it led to an overextension of credit in a short time, and even the lower strata of society rushed to invest, hoping to grab quick money. However, we need to understand that the subject of the trade at that time was not flowers, but bulbs, This was due to the difficulty of mass cultivating tulips in a short period of time. Many famous varieties were expensive, including Admiral Liefken, Admiral von der Eyck, Viceroy, Generalissimo, etc. There was also a variety that enthusiasts raved highly of, which produced purple-white stripes due to a disease mutation. It's known as Semper Augustus. Even in Rembrandt's famous painting, The Anatomy Lesson of Dr. Nicholas Tulp, the protagonist in the painting, Nicholas Tulp, whose original name was Dr. C. Peters, changed his name to Nicholas Tulp in 1621 out of his fascination for tulips. Tulp is Dutch for tulip. The tulip mania can be divided into 3 stages. The first stage is characterized by high prices due to supply and demand imbalance, which was the aforementioned situation. The second stage is where speculators began to enter the market, around 1634. The highly popular tulip caught the attention of speculative elements, with the main aim being to inflate prices to make huge profits. The trend went from Leiden to cities like Amsterdam and Haarlem. The demand increasingly grew. There was even a record of a premium variety bulb being exchanged for a mansion. In the book, Tulipomania, by M. It is described that, in 1636, a tulip valued at 3,000 Dutch guilders could be exchanged for 8 fat pigs, 4 fat bulls, 2 tons of butter, 1,000 pounds of cheese, a silver cup, a pack of clothes, a bed with a mattress, and a ship. This illustrates how extreme it was. Originally, if trading bulbs on the spot, transactions would be made in the winter opening season, but because the trade was too heated, futures trading was introduced and trades could be made all year round. This is why craftsmen and farmers without funds were attracted to this trading market, starting from an affordable level, which made the prices of non-premium varieties begin to rise. The appearance of people profiting from reselling led to year-round trading and the introduction of the futures trading system. But don't think it was taking place in venues like a stock exchange, it was actually in hotels. Trades didn't need cash or actual bulbs, you just needed to present a note like, "We'll pay in April next year," or "We'll deliver bulbs at that time," or add a little down payment to complete the transaction. Even the down payment was not limited to cash, it could be livestock, furniture, anything that could be exchanged for money. In the end, after several turnovers, it was unclear who the creditor or debtor was, and of course, attracted speculators who originally had no funds at all. At that time, the price of the rare kind of tulip bulbs would increase by 20 times in a month, which was a common occurrence. For example, at the beginning of 1637, a kind of tulip bulb called Switzer skyrocketed by 485% in a month, which translated into an annual increase rate astonishingly about 5,900%. It's terrifying, right? But not long after, the devastating third stage arrived. The start of the bubble burst, causing prices to drop drastically, leading to chaos in the market. On February 3, 1637, a tragedy occurred when everyone was unprepared. The price of tulip bulbs plummeted straight to the price equivalent to an onion. It was not so much a crash as it was a lack of buyers, because the bills could not be exchanged, resulting in being unable to pay for goods but incurring a debt of up to 3,000 people. There are many theories as to why this situation occurred, but there is a highly dramatic one that I personally found very interesting. A young foreign sailor came to the Netherlands for the first time, unaware of the current tulip mania. When he left, he casually took a tulip bulb. But that bulb was a top-grade variety called Semper Augustus, that the shipowner purchased from the Amsterdam exchange for a huge sum of 3,000 gold coins, which is around $30,000 to $50,000 today. Its high value at the time could surpass a mansion in Amsterdam. The shipowner, discovering the tulip bulb was missing, frantically went looking for the sailor. When he finally found him, he nearly fainted on the spot. So what did the sailor do? At that time, he was satisfyingly eating the bulb with smoked herring. To the sailor, ignorant of the value of the tulip bulb, it seemed like an onion, perfect as a side dish with smoked herring. The bulb that was worth thousands of gold coins at the time was treated as an onion in the eyes of the unknowing. Was it the sailor or the Dutch who had gone mad? This unforeseen event suddenly sparked a panic in the Amsterdam exchange. All the speculators began to doubt the value of the bulbs. A few, fearing a downturn, immediately sold their bulbs at a low price. Then many quickly followed suit. The panic resulted in frantic sell-offs, causing the once highly sought-after tulip bulb prices to plummet. This even led the Dutch government to issue a statement claiming there was no reason for the price of tulip bulbs to fall, asking the public to stop selling, and settling the contracts at 10% of the price. However, these efforts were not enough, and within a mere week, the tulip bulbs had actually fallen to the price of an onion. In recent years, some have compared the Bitcoin investment frenzy to the tulip mania. Some even believe it exceeds it. So if we look back at the history of Bitcoin's surge, the first actual transaction in 2010 exchanged 10,000 Bitcoins for 2 pizzas, when 10,000 Bitcoins were worth only $41. A single Bitcoin price was less than 1 cent. In the short span of 3 years until December 2017, it skyrocketed more than 64 times, surpassing the approximately 50 times increase in tulip mania prices within the 3 years before it reached its peak. Other 2 major bubbles, the 10-fold increase in the South Sea bubble, the 30-fold increase in Mississippi bubble, you could say they paled in comparison. As for the Bitcoin price that had several ups and downs over the past year, the price earlier in 2021 once surged to nearly $64,000, and then plummeted to less than $30,000 within 3 months. In November, the price surged again to over $67,000, and a plunge of over 50%, dropping below $35,000 occurred just 3 months later. Can this be called an investment commodity? For instance, BOA strategist Harnett analyzed that Bitcoin could become the mother of all bubbles. Dr. Doom, and New York University economist Nouriel Roubini criticized that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies merely play the role of speculative asset bubbles, which are worse than the tulip mania. Even Tulip, who once praised Bitcoin, criticized harshly that Bitcoin is completely worthless, calling it an open Ponzi scheme. Whether or not you believe in cryptocurrencies, think twice before making an investment. Lastly, a reminder to everyone. The electricity used for mining Bitcoin is becoming increasingly unfriendly to the environment. The energy consumption of Bitcoin now almost equals to that of the entire country of Greece. Do you think this has any benefits for the planet?